I am Dr. Joy Allen, and I am an assistant professor of music therapy in the music therapy department here at Loyola. I received my bachelor's in music therapy actually from Loyola University back in the 90s under Dr. Darlene Brooks, and then went to get my master's degree at Temple University in Philadelphia, and then proceeded to get my Ph.D. from Temple University under the direction of Dr. Kenneth Bruscia. In a nutshell, music therapy is it's a healthcare profession, and what we do is that we're using the music and a therapeutic benefit to either maintain or improve physical, social, psychological, spiritual functioning in a wide variety of patients. We have music therapists that work with neonates in the NICU, all the way up to music therapists that work with geriatrics in nursing homes, medical facilities, mental health facilities, in wellness, adolescent and behavioral units, and what have you. So what we really do is quite the gamut. Most individuals get into music therapy because they have a love of psychology and music, and they're hoping to combine the two. Because they also know that the benefits of music, whether from their own personal experience of having that piece of music that they really relate to that helps externalize those internal emotions that they're going through, or the experience of being in a group, a performing group, and the emotions and the benefits of that as well.
You think music has healing power?
Absolutely, music has healing power. It's quite amazing. I think one of the things that we're lucky to see as a music therapist is how we can use that music to really work with patients. It's intrinsically rewarding in and of itself. A good music therapy student is, I think, one of the best traits that a music therapy student can have is passion for working with others. That's something that we can't teach, and that's not something we can give you. You have to have that passion for wanting to work with other human beings. Along with that, you have to be passionate about music. If you don't believe in the powers of music yourself, we can't have you buy into that while you're working with it. So having that passion and that for working with others, and having that passion for music and that desire to reach others through music. As a music therapist, I've been fortunate to work with a wide variety of patients. I have 12 years of clinical experience, and I can't even count on my fingers and my toes the number of experiences that have been so powerful in and of themselves. Most of my clinical work has been with medical patients, particularly with cancer and end of life. And one particular experience I remember was working with a 31-year-old who was end-stage HIV and Burkitt's lymphoma, and seeing the suffering that goes on while he was hospitalized, of not only how much he was suffering, both physically and emotionally, but the family, and being able to work with them over a 6-month course when nothing else was helping. All the pain medications weren't taking that away, because once you start getting into physical suffering, you get into the emotional and spiritual suffering that goes along with a chronic illness. And being able to use music, in some cases just to connect with him, to give him some distraction, other cases really working with him to help use that music to decrease his pain perception using imagery, writing songs to help express his feelings, having his family reminisce through the use of songs to help connect them back to more positive times, and at the end, working with his mother to create music to help him at night when he couldn't rest because he was so afraid to close his eyes. And the treatment team not being there, but being able to work with the mother so that she could provide that and helping to give her some control over a situation which she had no control over. And at the end, we had this beautiful time together, and I was fortunate enough to be a small part of this family's journey, but make it to a place where I couldn't cure him, I couldn't take away his pain, but what I could do is be there with him and help him to express some of his fears and some of his anger and some of his anxiety, and help reconnect him back to his family through the music. We do. I think the great thing about music therapy, it's not a self-help technique, and it's not a intervention that has one piece of music that works well with everybody. As music therapists, we have to be very familiar with all genres of music, whether it's classical, jazz, show tunes, pop music, R&B, rap. Our students, when they leave here, have to play barriers on guitar and piano and show the wide range of songs that they can play, because ultimately, while we could use recorded music, the elements in the music allow us to reach our clients whether it's us changing the tempo, us changing the melody lines, us holding or creating more tension in a piece that wouldn't normally be there to help access and explore what's going on with them intrinsically.
Interesting. Could you talk about the curriculum in your
Sure.
program?
We have two programs. We have an undergraduate curriculum and a graduate curriculum. I teach most of the undergraduate courses. As a music therapy major, our students are taking coursework in music, which would include their basic theory, music history, and their applied instruments. Then they're taking coursework in the psychologies. So you're going to have intro to psychology, abnormal, developmental, statistics and research, and then clinical psychology as well. And then they're taking music therapy coursework. Our music therapy coursework includes the introduction to music therapy theory and techniques. Then they get specific populations, whether it's music therapy in the educational system, within the medical system, with mental health patients. And then there's two courses that focus just on techniques, the improvisation, the affect regulation. The other core thing about music therapy coursework is that all of our students have to be in the clinic every year. So they take what we call practicums, and they spend 35 to 50 hours on site in a clinic, either under the direct supervision of a music therapist or in their senior years under the direction of a site supervisor that does where they are the music therapist, and they get the experience of working with clients from the beginning to the end, from the assessment, designing treatment plans, and implementing those techniques. So by the time that they leave here and they do their 6-month clinical internship, they're more comfortable being in the clinic. So it's a combination of the hands-on and the book work that goes with that. And then, of course, the last component of the coursework is the common curriculum that is part of the Loyola University system. We have clinics. Currently we have 25 active fieldwork sites. And just to give you an example of some of our fieldwork sites, we have music therapy students at Children's Hospital, at Tulane Cancer Center, at Metro Center for Domestic Abuse, at River Oak Psychiatric Hospital, Beacon Behavioral Health Center, several of the nursing homes in the area, and then we work with several children and adolescent nonprofit groups where they're for at-risk students that we're implementing techniques to meet the social and emotional needs, whether it be self-esteem and conflict resolution and what have you. So they're actually going out into the field. We do not have it set up right now where we have patients come to us because of obvious confidentiality reasons and facilitation, because one of the things that we try really hard to do here in our field work is making sure that we meet the needs of the community. So we're actually working with those clients who might not normally receive services because of finances. These are patients who might not have insurance, or their facilities might not have the resources to hire. So part of being at a social justice university is we're making it a point that our students are working with those who in some cases need it the most but don't have the resources to have it. So it's really giving our students not only exposure to music therapy, but also to some cases, the healthcare system of America, as well as the educational system, to really see that they're not only therapists, but they're advocates. And where is it that the system's breaking down, and where can you help advocate for your clients? And I don't feel it's necessary for our students. Obviously, it would be great if we could have the best of the best and have them go to the state-of-the-art facilities. But sometimes the education is going to those facilities that don't have anything and implementing those services. And we're fortunate enough that our community needs a lot and we're able to implement those services and really have the support of those agencies because they're so grateful that we are able to provide this to them. As therapists, we always joke around is that we became therapists because we needed therapy ourselves. And the fact of the matter is that you would be, if you didn't have emotional reaction to anything, you wouldn't be a good therapist because we're human beings and we have reactions. So part of our coursework and part of our practicum experiences is really looking at ourselves and that self-awareness. So they have projects and assignments in every single class that they have that looks at what are my reactions to this? What am I reacting to? Why am I reacting this way? And in some cases, do I need to go further for this? We encourage all of our students to seek outside therapy when needed, which is very important because even as professionals, therapists go for continuing therapy because when you're working with someone else, it gets difficult and you want to make sure that you're not bringing in your own issues into the clinic setting. So it's something that we're very aware of. One of the fortunate things that we are within our program is that Dr. Vega and myself have a very good relationship with all of our students, so we can keep an eye on things and process things and call in when we think, you know, if I have a student in the cancer center, I know that there's going to probably become issues that come up. So, and say, okay, how's it going? Anything coming up? Is there something that we need to do? Or is there something that you might be beneficial in exploring more on your own about certain reactions that you're having to the client or the supervision process or to the setting? Because it can be very difficult, even from going into a school setting and seeing the limited resources that these kids have, and it could be heartbreaking. But at the same time, getting caught up with that is not doing anyone else a favor. It's making sure that, okay, this is what it is. What do I do with it? Do I sit back and not do anything? Do I want to advocate for it? And that's a choice that they can make. But definitely knowing that self-care, self-awareness are a big part of being a therapist. I would say, you know, traditionally in the therapy fields, there's more females than there is males. We have, at Loyola right now, we have a good number of males. I wouldn't say that there's one way to say gender-wise. I just think there's certain students that you know are going to have a more difficult time than others. Those that are extremely sensitive or those that have had very difficult past. We know that we need to keep an eye out for more. Not saying that sometimes they make the best therapist, but I wouldn't say it's so much as a gender thing as a what population do they work with, what skills do they have, and what are they hoping to get out of this. Anyone who's interested, the American Music Therapy Association has a great website. It's www.musictherapy.org. They have resources on there from talking about what music therapy is, populations that we work with, and what have you. We do have two professional journals, the Journal of Music Therapy as well as Music Therapy Perspectives. Many music therapists publish outside of those journals as well, whether it's in the Journal of Clinical Psychology, the Journal of Mental Health, what have you. There's some great resources out there on the web. Even if you Google music therapy, you'll find many music therapists who have their own web page or own their own business that have some great information out there that is very helpful, particularly if they're looking for music therapy with a specific population. Next 5 years, where do I see myself? Continuing, obviously, teaching. I love teaching, but one of the things that is important to me, being a therapist, is to remain out in the clinic. So I enjoy doing some clinical work on the side, and I will continue doing that, as well as continuing to research clinical outcomes within music therapy. I'm particularly passionate about chronic illness, and I'm partnering with Tulane's Cancer Center right now to work on some research projects, as well as working with at-risk teens with conflict resolution. So those are some of the things that I plan on doing, as well as one of my big passions is encouraging student research. So my students right now that are in the clinic and who have the skills are really working on devising research studies for either to put together for publication or put together for a presentation at one of our conferences that are coming up. And we have 2 or 3 students right now that are planning on presenting in the spring on their work in the clinic, which I think is very exciting. I mean, I think one of the great things about Loyola University is that, one, we're Jesuit-based, which I really admire, but also that our music therapy program is one of the oldest in the nation. And we have had some of the great therapy professors here. Dr. Vega and I's approach is really hands-on in the clinic. This is a professional-based degree program, and we want to make sure that our students are well prepared for the job market. So combination of, like I said, having that clinical skill set and having that opportunity to really grow as a person, as a therapist, so that in the 4 years when you leave here, that you're prepared to go out into the real world and use your skills. We've had an excellent success rate with our students getting their first choice internships, as well as in the job market, and I think that says a lot about our program.